Folks watch a big tree come down and figure that was the hard part. Huh. No. That's the part I can finish before dinner. The thing that'll still be standing on this land long after they've put me in it. That's not the tree at all. It's what the tree leaves behind. And I'll get to that. I'm Annie. My husband's the one who wanted this land. I buried him on the trail getting to it. So there's no we left to split the work. Just me, this axe, and about 400 trees standing between my family and a field. Let me get this giant on the ground first. This pine in front of me is older than my grandmother's grandmother. 3 feet through at the base. To put a field where it's standing, I've got one tool worth a damn, this axe, and a back that's already arguing with me, and it's not yet 7 in the morning. I'm sure you are imagining a forest in your head, but you've got it wrong. You're thinking of a tangle. Briars, saplings, brush so thick you'd need to hack a tunnel just to walk. That's a young woods. A woods that's been cut once already and has come back angry. This here is old growth, never touched. And old growth is a strange, open, church-like place. The big trees took all the light 1,000 years ago and starved out everything underneath. So the floor is clean. The trunks stand far apart, straight and enormous, like the pillars of something. Quiet, too. Almost makes you feel bad about what you came to do. Almost. Because pretty doesn't feed anybody, that cathedral of timber is, to me, the single thing standing between my family and a crop in the ground. And a crop in the ground is the only thing standing between us and a hungry winter. So the trees come down. All of them. Question is how? And here's where a smart settler and a desperate settler one go separate ways. The desperate one girdles. You take your axe and you cut a ring clean around the trunk, right through the bark, all the way around. You don't feel a thing, you just choke it. Cut that ring in the fall, and by spring the sap can't climb, the leaves never come, and the tree stands there stone dead. Now the light pours down through bare branches, and you plant your corn right in among the standing dead. The easiest, cheapest way there is to get a crop in the first year. Costs you almost no labor at all. I said it was easy. I didn't say it was wise. Because now I've got a field full of giant dead trees. And dead trees do one thing reliably. They fall. They fall when they please. They fall in the night, in the wind, with no warning and no manners. And they don't much care whether you or your child or your ox happens to be standing underneath when they decide they're done. A whole field of them, gray and bare and leaning, waiting. Some folks called this a dead-end woods, a ghost forest, and they weren't being poetic. They were being accurate. You'd plant a crop under a roof of widowmakers and just hope. So no, I don't girdle if I can help it. I fell. And felling is where you learn what your shoulders are actually made of. You don't just chop a tree till it tips over wherever it likes. You read it, which way it leans, where the weight is, where you need it to land. Because a 3-foot pine coming down in the wrong direction will crush the rails you split last week, or pin you, or knock down the 2 trees beside it like the hand of God swatting a table. So you cut a notch on the side. You want it to fall, deep, and then you go around the back and cut toward that notch, slow, watching the crown the whole time. There's a moment, every single tree has it, where the trunk gives a little groan and starts to lean on its own, and that is the moment you put the axe down and you move. You don't admire your work, you move. I've known men who admired their work. I don't see them around anymore. One family cannot clear a forest. I don't care how strong the man is or how stubborn the woman. The trees are too big and the years are too short. So when a settler had a stretch felled and ready to be hauled and burned, they sent word out, 15, 20 miles in every direction. And on the appointed day, the families came. Came with their oxen, came with their chains and their handspikes, came with food. One fellow who knew what he was doing would stand in the middle of it and direct the whole circus. Because 30 people and a dozen oxen moving 1,000-pound logs is exactly as dangerous as it sounds. The men and the oxen hauled the big trunks. The women and the children worked the smaller stuff, dragging brush, stacking limbs, and they tended the fires. And somewhere in the middle of all that grunting and hollering and the smell of green wood, somebody always had a fiddle. And there was food, and for one day, the loneliest work in the world had 30 people doing it side by side. That's how the frontier actually got cleared. Not by one heroic soul with an axe, by neighbors trading days, owing each other, and showing up. If you had oxen, you'd chain a fallen trunk and let the beast drag it to the pile. If you didn't, and plenty didn't, you'd use the hand log method, which is a polite name for you and another poor soul lever the log along the ground with iron-tipped poles, a few feet at a time, swearing. Either way, the logs went into great heaps, some of them 8 feet high, brush and branches stuffed underneath for kindling. And then you burned it. All of it. Now stop and feel that for a second. Trees that took thousands of years to grow, trunks you could not get your arms halfway around, and you set the whole pile alight and stood back and watched a fortune in timber turn to smoke. Anybody from a country where wood was precious would have wept to see it. But out here, there was simply more wood than there would ever be use for. And the wood was not the prize. The dirt under it was the prize. So it burned. Except there was a fortune in those ashes, and most folks walked right past it. Burn good hard wood, and what's left is a fine gray ash. And that ash is full of potash. You leach it, you boil it down, and you've got the one thing that wilderness made that the markets back east would pay hard cash for. Soap, glass, gunpowder, they all wanted it. A settler who gathered his ashes carefully before the rain could ruin them and worked them down into potash could haul a few barrels to market and come back with more money in his pocket than a season of anything else would bring. There were families whose burnt up timber, the stuff they'd have thrown away, paid off the very land they were standing on. The thing you were desperate to destroy was quietly the cash crop. The frontier was full of jokes just like that. So, trees are down, logs are burned, ashes are sold. You'd think you'd have a field. You'd think. Here's the arithmetic nobody tells you before you come west. On good old growth ground, it took something like 16 to 20 of those big trees to give you a single cleared acre. 1 acre! And a strong family working hard, working a whole season, might get about 10 acres ready for a first crop. 10! So you do the figuring on a farm big enough to actually live off. 40, 80 acres. And you realize you are not looking at a season of work. You're looking at the rest of your life. Men chopped through 4 winters straight on the same ground, fell and burned and seed in the spring, hired out to clear other folks' land in the summer. Back to their own trees when the snow came. Winter was the season for it, see? Ground frozen hard, the farm work quiet, the logs sliding easily over frozen mud. You cleared in the cold, you bled in the cold, and you did it again the next year. And through all of it, all those winters, all that hauling, all that smoke, I've been lying to you a little. Because I keep saying the tree is the easy part, and you've been waiting for me to tell you what the hard part is. It's still in the ground. It was always still in the ground. The stump. You cut the tree off low, close to the dirt as you can manage, so it won't catch your plow later. And what you leave is a stump with a root system underneath it, gripping that earth like it intends to keep it. And it does intend to keep it. You cannot pull it, not green. The roots run too deep and too wide, and there's not an ox team alive that'll tear a fresh oak stump out whole. So you don't even try. You leave it. You leave it, and you plant around it. The first years of a frontier field aren't the tidy thing in your mind. They're a graveyard of stumps with corn growing between them, and you walking your plow in clumsy little curves all season long, dodging. Every stump a thing you can steer around. Every stump a place the blade'll snap if you forget it's there. And you wait. Because the only thing that pulls a stump for free is time. And time takes its sweet, sweet while. A soft pine might rot enough to move in a year or two. But the hardwoods, the oak, the maple, the ones that made the best land, 7 years before beech and maple loosen their grip. And the truly stubborn ones, the big resinous pines and the elms, 15 years. 15 years. You could cut a tree the year your baby's born and still be fighting its corpse for the ground when that child is near grown. When the rot finally came, then the real grubbing began. You dig down around the thing with a grub axe, hacking the roots loose one by one, and where you hit a root too thick or a rock in the way, you take the heavy double bit to it. On your knees in the dirt, prying at something that's been dead a decade and still won't let go. Some folks just burn them out, slow for days. Some packed powder under the big ones and blew them clean out of the earth, which I'd pay money to watch from a safe distance. And the clever ones built a machine for it. A great wooden tripod over the stump, a screw running straight down into the heart of it, a chain hitched to the roots. You'd put your oxen on a sweep and walk them around in a circle, round and around, turning that screw, and slowly, the whole root ball would groan up out of the ground like a rotten tooth coming out of the jaw. Best sound on the frontier, that was. The sound of the land finally giving up. They got so behind on stumps in some towns that the law got involved. Catch a man drunk in the road, and instead of a fine, they'd sentence him to pull a set number of stumps out of the public's way. Cleaned up the streets and the saloons in one stroke. Other towns liked it so well they copied it. But here's the thing I've been walking toward this whole time. Here's what the tree leaves behind. When you finally tear those stump out, whole roots and all, after all those years, you don't burn every one. You drag them to the edge of your field, and you stand them up on their sides in a long row, root system facing out, a tangled gray wall of them locked together, a stump fence, cost you nothing, lasts longer than anything you could build, and no animal alive is getting through that snarl of roots. And that fence will outlast you. Long after the hands that felled the trees are gone, after the families moved on or died out, after the cabins fallen in, that wall of upturned stumps is still standing at the edge of a field, roots clawing at the sky, going gray and going silver and refusing for 100 years to rot. Drive certain back roads and you'll spill past them. A whole farm gone, swallowed back into the woods, and there, holding the line at the edge of the field, nobody plows anymore. The trees that were cut down to make it, pulled out of the earth, stood on end, and left as the only marker that anyone was ever here at all. We didn't clear the forest, we just argued with it. And the stumps, they're still keeping score.